Hey guys, it's Morgan from Manic Mama Mo. If you're new here, welcome to the crafty chaos, and if you're returning, welcome back. If you've ever looked up beginner-friendly crochet patterns and seen something like quick 30-minute project, and then next thing you know, you're 3 hours in, your hands hurt, and you're wondering why you ever started to crochet in the first place, because same. I wanted to make a series of actual beginner-friendly crochet patterns, and not just like labeled that way. Like, these are all ones that I've personally tried, so they are Mo verified beginner friendly projects. And just so we're on the same page, beginner friendly to me does not just mean basic stitches. It's repetitive, the instructions actually make sense, and it doesn't take 87 hours for literally no reason at all. Because if I have to frog 12 plus times as a beginner, I'm out. So I'm starting out this series with wearables, because I know they look the most intimidating, but they're truly the most rewarding to make. This first one is a classic granny square sweater, specifically the one by Kelly from Craft in a Cuppa here on YouTube. This is one of those projects that feels too good to be true, but is really as straightforward as it seems. And granny squares are super repetitive, so once you get the hang of it, you'll be flowing through this project. This is a made-to-measure pattern, which I personally think is so much easier for beginners. Basically, instead of following a strict size like small, medium, large, you're measuring it to fit your body. So you don't have to stress about gauge or hitting numbers, you're just making it to fit you or whoever you're making it for. I made my first classic granny square sweater in about 2 weeks, and that was with a newborn, so take that as you will. It also calls for worsted weight yarn, which is honestly the best weight yarn for beginners in my opinion. It's just the most accessible yarn weight. It can be found anywhere. It's really, really affordable. But this pattern is easily adaptable to other yarn weights as well. I've used value acrylic for a couple and burnout fluffy for one, and they've all came out so cute. The only part I found tricky was the seaming, and honestly when you watch Kelly's video it's a lot easier to understand, and I was just overcomplicating it. And I loved this sweater. Like, I wore them all the time. I just recently lost 70 plus pounds, so it doesn't fit me anymore. But that just means I have to make another, so I'm definitely not mad about that. So yeah, if you want something impressive that's secretly beginner friendly, this is the project for you. Another wearable, but on the complete opposite end of the effort spectrum, is crochet scrunchies. A great pattern or tutorial to follow for this one is the Easy Scrunchie tutorial by Elise Crochets here on YouTube. And these are like the easiest of easy. They work up super easy, they're repetitive, and you can make them with virtually any yarn that you have on hand. I used to make these all the time, especially during craft fair season, and now I'm thinking I should probably start making them again. There's really no watch out moment with this one. It is as simple as it seems like it's going to be. This is the type of project you make at 11 p.m. when you just need to feel successful really quick. It's a true beginner project. You're not going to get stuck halfway through confused and not sure where to go from there. And I feel like these kind of projects are really important as a beginner because you really need those quick wins in order to not get discouraged. So yeah, if you want something low effort that's still cute and functional, this is a great one. Another wearable that's super beginner friendly and quick to finish is a basic bucket hat. The one I'm recommending is my Notes by Nat here on YouTube, just a basic bucket hat tutorial. But she also has the written pattern in the description of her video, which I personally love. I prefer having the PDFs or physical versions of my patterns. These are honestly so simple, like I can make them at this point without even looking at a pattern. If you're a beginner, Nat's is a great one to follow. I made a bunch of these, like a lot. I actually make Shrek hats from this basic bucket hat pattern. I just add little Shrek ears on the tops of them, and they're always a hit with my friends and at craft fairs. The only thing I usually change is I shorten the brim a little bit, but that is just personal preference. I just prefer a shorter brim. I also recommend using 100% cotton or cotton blend instead of the 100% acrylic recommended in the video. Just because it makes the hat way more wearable. You don't want to be like sweating all summer in a 100% acrylic hat. This is one of those projects where you finish and you're like, wait, I actually made a whole hat. So if you want something quick, practical, and actually cute, this is the one for you. Another really good beginner wearable, especially if you're looking for another quick make, is a crochet bandana. This one is the Beginner Crochet Granny Triangle Bandana by Heather Brooks on Ravelry. I have made so many of these, like an embarrassing amount, but somehow I have no photos of them finished, which feels very on brand for me. It's really beginner friendly because it's just that same granny stitch style repeated over and over, just like in the sweater, except it's a triangle instead of a square. So once you get a rhythm, it's super easy to keep going. This pattern calls for a fine weight 2 yarn, but honestly you can use any yarn that you have on hand. You just need to add more or fewer rows depending on your ideal size. One thing to watch out for is just that the turning chain 3 in this pattern does count as a stitch, so you want to keep that in mind so you don't end up with wonky edges. This is like the training wheel of wearables, so if you want something quick and easy, this is the one for you. The last 2 patterns are paid patterns, but are totally worth it in my opinion. And also just in general, when you do buy a pattern, you're usually supporting a small designer, which is really cool. Like, these are real individual crocheters making these patterns, so it's always great to support them when you can. The first is the Eloise bow by Antelope Crochet. You can get it on Etsy for about $8. It uses simple stitches, it's really repetitive, and even though I discovered this pattern somewhat recently, so as a more advanced crocheter, I still think beginner me absolutely could have completed this. But I was honestly obsessed with how these turned out. I think that they look so sleek and put together, nothing like usual beginner-friendly projects. It uses worsted or DK weight, so again, super accessible. One tip I would give is to use stitch markers to mark the places where the types of stitches you're doing change. That'll make more sense when you're looking at the actual pattern. That will just make your life so much easier once you get into it. And these also sell like crazy at craft fairs, so if you're more advanced and sell or commission your work, this is a great one. This is one of those patterns where you're finished and you're like, okay, I completely ate that. So yeah, if you're okay spending a few dollars on a pattern, this is definitely one that I would recommend. Okay, and one more paid pattern I'm obsessed with. This is the Toaster Pastry Purse by Cozy Northwoods on Etsy. It's around $5 or $6. And this is one of my favorite patterns ever, but I don't even make it as a purse. I make it into a tablet sleeve and just leave off the straps. I also add a button and a loop at the top to close, so it's super easy to customize if you're at that point in your crochet game. And a little insider tip, the Michaels Loops and Threads Flex yarn makes the perfect icing texture, Pop-Tart icing texture, just because it makes the flex make it look like sprinkles. It uses worsted weight yarn again, so a great stash buster. And there's no tricks with this one. Honestly, if you're intermediate or advanced, you could freehand this. But as a beginner, having the pattern just makes it way easier to follow and teaches you all the different construction steps. This is one of those projects that's just fun. Like, it doesn't need to be practical, it's just cute. So yeah, again, if you're looking for something cute and don't mind dropping a few dollars, this is a really great one. So those are some crochet wearables and accessories that are actually beginner friendly. And like I said, these are all things that I have made or am making, so I'm not sending you into them blind. If you're just starting out, don't try to do all of them, just pick one. It's a way to get overwhelmed and not finish anything at all. Start with something small, get a win, and then work your way up. So like I said before, this is the first video in a beginner-friendly crochet pattern series that I'm doing here on my channel. And next I'm going to be covering plushies. So if you want more beginner-friendly patterns that actually make sense, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.